Hey guys, this is a video follow-up on the video I just did about the founding fathers and the fact that nowhere in any do I hear in any support of the Convention of the States, the Balanced Budget Amendment, any of the other attempts to be able to open up an Article 5 convention, do I ever hear anybody talking about what the founders envisioned for that particular provision. I was reminded of a quote, and I think it's found in the front of many of the pocket constitutions, where George Washington said, you know, at any time, with any question about the Constitution, let us go back to the time that it was written. And what I take from that is simply to go back to learn about what was going on at the time, learning what the founding fathers had designed for that particular provision. And it's pretty clear through what I've stated before what that particular provision was in line for, which was to fix any errors in the Constitution, knowing first that they were supposed to be able to put a council of censors together to be able to determine that the Constitution was followed correctly. Also, I don't think that they envisioned at this particular point that that we would ever allow us to get to the point where we would believe that the Supreme Court is the supreme law of the land, which really negates any provision in the Constitution anyway. What I wanted to do, I don't know how much time I have on this to be able to see if I can get through them, but I wanted to clarify some of the pros and cons for some of you that may be wondering about all this. Both people are, the right and the left are actually in support of this the Convention of the States Article 5 application. And the thing that most people don't realize is, is the left actually is involved as well. I've been getting emails on a questionable nature on whether there's actually an involvement with the Council on Foreign Relations. As we can imagine, they're embedded in just about everything. So we've got Glenn Beck, Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, Mark Meckler, co-founder of Tea Party Patriots and Homeschool Advocacy, Michael Farris, Convention of the States, Nick Geranius, Compact for America, ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, and more. The left, we've got Lawrence Lessig, founder of Call of a Convention, Convention USA, Amend America, Article 5, and Wolfpack, actually funded by George Soros. Now, if your red flags haven't gone off by now, I'm not really sure what to do about that. Anyway, so the convention advocates will tell you that it's an amendment. It's an amendments convention, not a constitutional convention. Well, I would challenge them to be able to find out where that is actually written. Is there a difference when they both require an ambiguous invocation of Article 5? They say that it can be limited to one topic. Is that true? Or is it actually an amendments convention like they'd admitted just previously? When you have 50 states involved in a convention, you think that they're all going to agree on one amendment? If the convention exceeds its call, they say the ratification process will protect us. Is that true? Or is that a wishful hope? Congress must select the mode. Well, what is the scope of the mode that Congress is going to select? And if Congress is going to select the mode, then how do the states think that they have any power in that? 3/4 must ratify, so 38 states must ratify, and they felt that that's enough of a safety mechanism. Is it? I mean, we've got the entire country and the states that are submitting to the federal authority telling us that the Supreme Court is the supreme law of the land, and we think somehow that's going to be satisfactory? We've talking about corruption at this more in any time in history now than we ever have. And we think somehow some people are just going to become righteously indignant and come stalwart for liberty. I don't see that happening. Those that say that they support a convention, it's only to propose amendments, not to ratify them, so that it's not dangerous. They say there's no danger of a runaway convention because of the fact that it takes 3/4 of the states to ratify. Supporters say that the states were independent back then. The words "in the opinion of Congress" means they didn't have the power. Supporters say that Madison, Hamilton, Adams, Franklin, and Washington and others supported Article 5 as a viable option. Yeah, they did, but not to rein in the federal government. It was to fix errors in the Constitution. Supporters say that we have a right to an Article 5 convention, and people like me in the John Birch Society and Eagle Forum are unconstitutional, and we're not patriots because we disagree. We try to, that we don't acknowledge Article 5 to be used, and it's only in fear of the present political climate. They say that, well, because Beck, Levin, and Hannity, you know, they're patriots. Forget about the fact that they're conservative talking heads, and some of them are actually neocons, for those that don't know what that is. They say that 2/3 of the states must apply, and that this is a large number of states to agree, and the Congress will call a convention, if they actually will call it. So those that oppose are basically, there's a few of us, like me, the organizations, the John Birch Society and the Eagle Forum. Basically, the opponents say, and there's a long list of these, and I probably won't have time to cover them all, so I can whip them out very quickly. Congress shall call a convention. Will it acknowledge its duty like it has its limitations? States pass legislative authority to delegates. Will this mean further accountability to the state legislatures and even make it more difficult to control them? States cannot restrict the power of delegates, and we can't control them now. Why don't the states write laws or utilize the 9th and 10th Amendments to pass amendments in their own states rather than a convention? Supporters say the founders didn't leave specifics because they were experts, because they had conventions all the time. If this is so, why did they write journals on debates on topics regarding the Constitution, informing the people on historical difficulties of their decisions? Why would they write so much about other topics but nothing on an article that would jeopardize the careful crafting of a document that preserved the freedom and sovereignty for the state and its people? What are the limitations and guarantees that the convention will not throw out a Constitution and Bill of Rights, like it did when the Constitution was only to amend the Articles of Confederation? Remember that one? Article 5 states two specific limitations: no amendments to slavery before 1808, and no state without the consent of an equal vote of the Senate. Did the creation of the 17th Amendment violate the equal suffrage limitation in Article 5 because the senators now answer to the federal government rather than the states? The one thing to not have been done by an amendment was done by an amendment. There are no other limitations or safeguards from a con once it's convened. Why would a con be needed for one topic? The ratification process, according to the Articles of Confederation, had to be unanimous, which was lawfully changed through Article 7, requiring 9 of 13, or 3/4, to ratify instead of unanimous consent. Where are the state legislatures on Article 7, as they were mentioned in Article 5? Article 7 states conventions of 9 states shall ratify. Conventions were delegates of free men, not of the General Assembly. They recognized if state legislatures were privy to these changes, they would see the assault on their state sovereignty. Who in their position wants to give up power? They changed who ratifies and how many could ratify. Could this precedent be followed today? Today's attorneys are trained in precedent case law without even looking at the Constitution. We could lose everything. Do we know who the delegates and their position on the issues are and their ability to be able to overcompromise? Why don't the states pass local laws or amendments to their state constitutions instead of support for an Article 5 constitutional convention? If this is an amendments convention and not a constitutional convention, and they are in fact different, where's the delegated authority to convene such a thing? And why would they be subject to the rules of a constitutional convention? What about party takeover or minority faction? Who are the delegates? Only the convention can propose amendments. If it's stated that we get more Republicans in the convention, will it be safer? Is it stated that the Rhino GOP are guiltier of the subversion because they hide it? At least the Democrats admit what they want. I'll go ahead and cover the second half of this in the next video. Thanks.